Welcome to Get Your Mind Right. Today, we're diving into your questions and insights in our mailbag segment. Thanks to everyone who wrote in. Let's open up the mailbag.
John Johnson here, and welcome to Get Your Mind Right Mailbag Edition. Well, we've got three juicy ones today, ranging from protein packed bugs to sales sabotage that's hiding in plain sight. We're talking about moments where you think you got a handle on things till something jumps down from the rafters and sinks its claw in your neck. Now, more on that in the backstory. But first, here's what we've got in the mailbag today. First of all, my friend Brian Workman from Oklahoma. It's a new kind of question, never had this one before. Brian wants to know why someone thought chocolate covered insects were a viable snack and how somehow crickets are the very best. It's followed up by Jacob No from Boonville, Indiana, who wants to know how to win the business of a merchant who's already using buyer's choice the right way today. Finally, we're going to wrap up with Matthew Prestandria from Virginia. He was asking about a hidden merchant pain point that nobody talks about until it explodes. Three different flavors today, folks. We got snackable, tactical, and surgical. So let's roll. First of all, Brian, my Okie. He wants to know who decided chocolate-covered insects were a good idea and why the crickets are the best. Well, Brian, let's just dive in and unpack this. So, first of all, you're asking who decided this. Well, I'm guessing the same person who looked at a lobster and said, man, that nasty looking sea spider, let's boil it alive and dip it in butter. I bet that tastes great. Or if you're a country kid like me and you saw an egg get laid, you have to wonder the first human being that looked at that and said, man, you know what? I'm going to eat that and that is going to be delicious. That's exactly who we're talking about. I mean, humans are a little odd, but they're also resourceful. But back to your specific question, Brian, about crickets, because you know what? You're right. Out of all the edible insects, crickets go full throttle. They've got texture, they got flavor, and they are high in their protein per ounce. They're the bull rhino of the bug buffet. But you know, Brian, there's a little bit deeper layer to this. Because this is what we do feels like sometimes. You're trying to get people to eat crickets, not literally, but conceptually. You're selling them something that challenges their norm. For example, you say dual pricing, they're hearing customers at risk. You say AI powered funneling, and they think, oh, it sounds scary and complicated. You're saying optimize your processor fees, and they're hearing, boy, I've heard that pitch before. And Brian, in those moments, your job is to make the unfamiliar feel not just acceptable, but inevitable. So here's how we do about this. Let's talk about this in terms of dual pricing. And the first thing is normalizing the weird of eating chocolate covered crickets. Now, this one strikes a personal chord with me because I was there. Your talk track with your merchant might be, say, hey, this may sound a little strange at first, but actually, it's a smart move of a lot of forward-thinking merchants, and these are moves that they're making. It was for me. I actually say this to folks, Brian. When I got in the merchant services business, I was struck by all the oxymorons in this. I heard the word cash discount a lot, and it's the opposite of that. We're effectively charging you more for using a credit card. So this normalization is a very, very important concept. Next thing, Brian, is I want you to educate with confidence. Don't flinch. Don't try to walk away from it. Don't try to walk around it, and don't oversell. Let the idea stand on its own. You might say to them, you know what? This is why this works. Here's who's doing it, and here are their results. And the last thing, Brian, is to serve the cricket, not the concept, because people, they don't buy chocolate-covered insects. They buy a fun and exotic snack with a crunch that's going to surprise them. So get off the buzzwords. Sell them the end results. And here's what it is. You're going to spend a whole lot more money. You're going to be able to reinvest in your business. Your customers are going to adapt super quick. And this is all going to feel old hat in a couple of weeks. And you will never go back to traditional processing. Bottom line here, Brian, not selling insects, you're selling margin, novelty, and control. So, hey, crickets, they may not be for everyone, but the ones who try it and love it, they're not going back to the granola. Thanks for the question, Brian. You just gave us a snackable lesson in sales psychology. Next up, Jacob No from Boonville, Indiana. And Jake wants to know, how do you still win the business of a merchant already doing buyer's choice compliantly? Jake, this is a level up question because you know what? You're not chasing the low hanging fruit here. You're hunting what I call locked door leads, and that's going to require big Jake energy. Can you muster that for me? So, Jake, if they're already running buyer's choice, two things are true. Number one, that merchant is, in fact, educated. And number two, that merchant is open to innovation. Jake, this is great news for you, especially to a guy like Larry the Loser. More about him in a minute. Let's talk about how you beat a compliant competitor without just racing to the bottom. The first thing is we've got to get surgical with the why. And I want you to do this by starting the conversation with a question. How did you end up with your current provider? If they say something vague like a guy walked in, it's opportunity for you. If they say, you know what, we did a 4-month evaluation across multiple vendors. Okay, now we know what that level is. We know where the bar is. Then ask them, hey, in this evaluation, you looked at multiple vendors. Why did you choose the winner over the others? Jake, we're looking for holes here, weak spots, regrets, because everyone, and I mean everyone, has at least one regret or something they don't like about their current setup, whether it's the pricing, the reporting, response time, integrations, customer service, setup time, training, etc. Everything under the sun, they're not going to love it. Then this is where we go after the hidden friction, because even when it looks compliant, there's always going to be a hidden snag. Like for example, no mobile responsiveness on the terminal. They've got end of month reporting pain, settlement delays, poor customer support, no API on the e-commerce side. And that's the wedge. And that wedge is going to allow you to flip the frame. Instead of saying, let me show you how we do it better, we say, hey, Mr. Merchant, let's pretend that nothing's broken. You just snap your fingers and you make one part easier. What would it be? Let them point at the pain. And then you say, I can solve that without forcing you to change the part that's working. Jake, that's the bull aardvark selling. You dig where the gold is, not where the dust is. The last part, and this is very, very important, okay? We're going to pitch like we're a partner, not a vulture. Because if you go in and your mindset is, let me beat their pricing, you are Larry the Loser. Let's do the math on a coffee shop that's averaging a $6 ticket. So the incumbent processing is charging 4%. Well, what's Larry the Loser going to do? Immediately, he's got one play. He's going to lower the pricing. He's going to come in at 3%. I already did the math on that. Larry's going to save that coffee customer 6 cents. Anyone interested about that? Does that move the needle for anyone? Is that 6 cents even worth the merchant's time to fill out that application to get that 6-cent saving? No, it's not. Jake, this is your opportunity here. You go in with, you know what, Mr. Merchant, you've done the hard work. You're ahead of the curve. I'm just here to optimize your setup further. Boom. It's respectful, it's tactical, it's confident. Jake, when someone's already using buyer's choice, they're not locked in, but they are primed. We don't need to bulldoze in, okay? Larry the Loser, he is already out. Jake, just pump the brakes, read the room, and run your offense and find those pain points that we know are there. Thanks for the power question, Jake. This was a good one. And last, from the Commonwealth of Virginia is Matthew Prestandria. Matthew asks, what's a merchant pain point that nobody talks about until it becomes a crisis? I love this one. Because some problems, they don't yell, they whisper. And some, well, they wait until you're a full sprint, and then they're going to tackle you from behind. Here's one that almost no merchant talks about until it's too late. and that is untrained staff on payments and pricing. Here's what this looks like. You get them to sign the contract. You onboard them. They start running transactions. And then 3 months in, phone rings. And you hear, well, hold on. Looks like we're being charged more than we expected. Or worse, hey, charging us a fee we didn't agree to. Now you start digging in. And what do you find out? Well, they had a new hire at the register who didn't know the proper language to explain bill pricing. Their manager did not know how to override a return properly. The staff used the old terminal during a lunch rush. And then finally, no signage was updated after a change. And now, well, you've got a full-scale PR issue on your hands, a retention issue, a trust issue. Now, this one hides in the shadows, not because during onboarding everyone nods, but weeks later, no one remembers the rules, no one remembers the setup. So here's how you get in front of this, Matthew. The first thing is I want you to build in retraining into your cadence rhythm. Offer a 90-day check-in as a part of your wellness process. This isn't optional. It's not salesy. It's mandatory and positioned as protecting their business. Matthew, it's part of the service that you provide. Next thing is to give the merchant talk tracks. Would you like the cash price or the card price? These things are already included. Don't let the staff improvise. This is how you get hurt. The last thing is even use secret shoppers on this. If you've got bigger clients, offer in to send these undercover folks. This isn't to shame the team, but to spot where they're vulnerable. Now, bonus for you, Matthew. When you do this thing, they take you seriously as a partner, not just a vendor. Matthew, this is one of these issues. If you run into it, it doesn't bark, okay? It purrs quietly in the corner until it lunges at your neck. So don't wait for the claws. Get ahead of the training, the language, and the refreshers now. It reminds me, when I was a kid, one of my favorite books is I had a collection of Aesop's fables. And there was a tale in there of a fox and a wolf. And the fox had the misfortune of falling down into a water well. So it had a brick side, but it was about 6 feet to the top of it. And try as he might, Fox could not claw his way out. So now what's he doing? Well, he's swimming in a circle around the well, and he's getting tired, and he's yelling for help. Well, a wolf comes up. The wolf asks him what happens, and the fox tells him. And the wolf is very upset about this. He tells the fox how upset he is by it. He's wringing his paws over this. Oh, you must feel so tired. I don't feel so bad for you. How horrible this is. And he goes on and on and on. And the fox says, friend, I really appreciate all your well wishes and your empathy for me right now. But what I really need is a rope. Matthew, I'm telling you this fable here because that's the last word here, is you are offering a rope for your merchant. Not just, I empathize or I feel your pain. What you're doing is concrete and valuable help. And now what you've got is not only a merchant who's going to stick with you, but a merchant who's also going to help you 10x your business in the form of referrals. Solid question, Matthew. I appreciate you bringing it to the surface. And now for the backstory. Welcome to the backstory, where I take a step back before we move forward. Each week, I share moments that shape me, whether it's my time as a sales rep, my journey as a dad, experiences I had, stories I've learned, or the curiosity that's followed me since childhood. Because every lesson learned today, there's usually a story worth telling behind it. Let's get into it. Have you ever walked into a situation thinking, I got this, only to get absolutely blindsided? Mind you, not something big, not a tidal wave, but something small, fast, and savage, a wild card that you did absolutely not plan for. It could be a random comment from a client, or a tool that stops working mid-demo, or a teammate that goes rogue on you. It's the stuff that doesn't follow the rules, and it does not care that you had a plan. Now, here's the thing that no one tells you. Sometimes success, it's not about control. It's about adapting when the chaos pounces. And in this story, this chaos came with whiskers, claws, and a serious attitude problem. I'm going to take you to the barn for this backstory. Now, this is yet another one of my family stories. And your family in this regard may be like mine. Sometimes family stories they get wrapped up in a fog of myth, legend, the unlikely and the unbelievable. Or maybe there's just enough truth to make you pause and say, "Hey, wait, what? Maybe this did happen." Well, this is exactly one of those stories. And once again, this one takes place in the barn. Now, not any barn, mind you, but my grandma and grandpa Garrett's barn. Now, my maternal grandparents had a country setup barn that was just out of a movie. It was white, it was massive, it housed animals. It had a hayloft, old wood, giant sliding doors, dusty sunbeams slicing through the rafters. And I can tell you, if you were one of the 14 Garrett cousins like me, you knew this barn was our Disneyland. We climbed, we hid, we built rooms under bales of straw, we climbed silos, we fell off stuff, and we got up and we did it again. That barn was ground zero for the Garrett grandchildren's shenanigans. But there was one crucial piece of information one learned very quickly. This is one unwritten lesson every single grandchild had to learn the hard way. The cats that lived in this barn, they were not your friends. Now, Grandpa, he had a thing for cats, but not the kind you name or you feed from a ceramic bowl. These cats were unpaid employees. Now, Kitty, he got the room for free, but that's about it. Their job was extremely clear. That was to eradicate rodents. No pay, no benefits, no petting. These were soldiers of pest control. Now, if there was a stray litter of kittens that came up within a 10 or 15-mile radius of my grandpa, he had some sort of cat radar. He'd swoop in like a rural Liam Neeson and bring those kittens straight to the barn. But here's the kicker. These cats, they stayed feral. Grandpa didn't train them. He didn't tame them. He just dropped them off like untrained soldiers into a battle on day one and says, "Figure it out." Pretty much every grandkid made this same mistake once. You'd walk in that barn, spot that cute little fluff ball kitten in the hay, your heart would melt, and you'd say something dumb like, "Oh, kitty." And then you'd reach down, and if you're unlucky, you'd actually get to pet it, and then whew, you are shredded. If you've ever been scratched by a kitten, you remember it. These claws are tiny and they are razor sharp. It is a distinct and discreet pain all into itself. You instantly regret it. Well, that is your welcome to Kitty Gladiator School. What really takes this story, though, to legendary status is what happened with one of those cats. Now, this particular feline, he had a screw loose. Something was wrong in this cat's head. So, how the story goes is the cat began straight up ambushing Grandpa from the rafters. Stealthily, he'd climb up the rafters, scoping out, and like a Navy SEAL, claws out, come down, land on Grandpa's back or neck, and then sprint off into the shadows before there were any repercussions. A hit and run. And this cat kept doing it. Now, I don't know how your grandpa handled disrespect, but mine was not in the business of taking L's from cats. Kitty Sniper's time on this planet was limited. So, as the story goes, Grandpa set a trap. Now, he managed to catch the cat. He stuffed it in a burlap sack, tied it off, hauled it down to a levee that went behind the barn. Now, on the other side of that levee was a creek. Depending on the season, like in the summer, it'd be a trickle, and in the spring, during the rains, it'd be a full-on rapid river. In this moment, there's some water and it was flowing. Grandpa takes the sack and he tosses it in the water, heads back to the barn. Problem solved, right? No, not so fast. Sometime later, Grandpa's back at the barn doing his thing, and guess who shows up? You got it, the 9 Lives cat. Still breathing, still not in the mood to rub up against Grandpa's back arched, purring contentedly, but still very much alive. Now, here's the real twist to the story. That was the end of it. The cat didn't ambush him anymore. No more drama. As the story went, they kind of struck an unspoken deal, of course. Grandpa permanently revoked The gallows sentence for a kitty, and the cat ceased the sneak attacks. That was the agreement. Now, is this story true? When I was a kid, I took it for the gospel. But as you get older and you start applying some critical thinking about it, it's almost too good to be true. And I've asked several family members about this. Some of them say, oh, yeah, this happened 100%. Others say, well, parts of it may be true. And other ones say, well, it might be exaggerated a little bit, like a fishtail with fur. Okay. But Grandpa, was he capable of this? Is this what it looked like? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, was it true? Well, I say it really doesn't matter anymore, because the lesson here, it's the same, whether it happened exactly like this or not. Because sometimes the only way you learn boundary is by getting shredded. And sometimes the only way to gain mutual respect is by surviving the worst and walking away stronger. And sometimes when you're not trying to train the chaos, you're just trying to come to terms with it and make it work for both sides. And in what we do in our profession, same rules apply. You got a CRM system that fights you every day. That's your cat. You can either drown it or you can learn to work with it. You got that unpredictable, crazy, screw loose client who ghosts you, comes back, ghosts you again, then buys, and then you can't get on the phone to onboard him. That's your cat. You've built the relationship, you've done all the work, but you keep getting scratched. Or the rookie on your team that won't follow a script but somehow still closes deals. Yeah, he's that cat too. But don't neuter him, channel him. Your bottom line here is when you're dealing with a team, a tool, or a full-blown ninja kitty, some things aren't meant to be teamed. They're meant to be respected, understood, and negotiated with. And every now and then, when your logic says it's all over, something claws its way out of the burlap sack, shows back up in the barn, and keeps the mice out of your grain. Well, guys, these were great questions, and you've given me great takeaways. Let's go through them. The first one is, crickets, they might be crunchy, but what we do, selling the idea, it's more about normalizing the weird and leading with results. And Jake, your compliant customers, they're not locked in. They're already half sold. Be strategic, not desperate. Stick to your training, and you're going to win. And finally, Matthew, your biggest hidden risk, that's a merchant team who doesn't know how to talk about what they are doing. And of course, the backstory takeaway is not everything can be tamed. Some clients, some tools, and some team members need mutual respect, not domination. Quiz time. It's multiple choice. Which of these best describes how to win over a merchant already doing buyer's choice? A, offer to beat their current pricing by 2%. B, insult their current provider's lack of technology. C, position yourself as an optimizer partner, not a replacement. Or D, avoid them. They're already taken. Drop your answer in the box below. And hey, share this podcast with someone who needs it. Like it and smash that subscribe button. If you've got questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. Drop them in the box below. I'll see you back here on Wednesday for another episode of Get Your Mind Right.